Hey everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson, and I got some good podcasting today, my friends. We are going to jump back into the grind or the crap or the things that can go wrong. My next guest is going to share how he started a multifamily deal and it didn't go as he expected, and he actually had to pull out. Now, why am I sharing you this podcast in this episode? I think it's really relevant. As you go into multifamily investing, you will make mistakes. You will screw up, and I do it today. I am all about very open transparency on things that I do good and things that I may not do so well. And that's what makes this podcast, I think, very unique and refreshing, is because we don't hide, it's not all we're so perfect. It really is the real life of what investing looks like and feels like. And you're going to hear a story of one of my students that went out and wasn't able to get his first multifamily deal, and his attitude about it, right? And I think you'll find it very interesting. I think you'll discover some nuggets. I know we put some good nuggets in this one because you get to learn from what he did wrong and what he wouldn't do again. And so success and failure are both great teachers. And you've got to have that mindset that failing is not failing. It's just learning how to not do things sometimes. And it really is about your mental attitude as you approach this game. And so I think you're going to find that it's a really good episode, and I'm excited to share it with you. But before we get into that, I got to give a couple shout outs for everybody giving me some love on iTunes. So a couple of reviews here. So I got Elder says, "Look at this. The genuine host, Corey, excellent guests and content. Listen here. Glad AAA Adams recommended this show." So thanks, Adam, for giving me the recommendation as well. Tracy Adams says, "Best podcast ever. It was outstanding. I recommend the Multifamily Legacy Podcast to everyone." And then Shotwell2713 says, "What a show. This is an excellent show. They have fantastic guests who are both knowledgeable and entertaining, as well as a fantastic substance and interesting themes. I strongly advise." So listen, guys, I'm so honored that you check in on this podcast and you listen to it. We are getting ready to go coming up next. So I've got a series coming up of my latest closing of Sierra Point. So it's going to be Sierra Point, the good, bad, and the ugly. It's going to be a 3-part series of talking about the deal, dissecting it, talking about what went well, what didn't go so well, and what was some ugly parts. And listen, every deal that I've ever done always has a little bit of ugliness, and it's just part of the game. And if you can expect that going into a deal, you'll be well more prepared as you start getting your own deals under contract. Also, after that series, we're going to start talking. We're going to go back and review some of the things that I've talked about on 2 or 3 years ago episodes that I think we need to refresh. Talking about setting up accounts, setting up yourself for success, how to start getting into your first deal, and the things that I think that you got to do and pay attention to. So we're going to come back to that and revisit some of my old teachings that I'm going to refresh it and just kind of make it new, because I know not everybody goes to the very beginning and listens to these things sequentially. So I want to keep giving you the value that I know most of you need, and our podcast has really grown. So guys, let's get to it. Let's not waste any more time. But before we do that, a word from our sponsors.
At Kahuna Investments, we partner with passive investors to create award-winning communities families love to call home. If you want to learn more about our company and our process, go to www.kahunainvestments.com and click the deal room.
All right, guys, we're back. Shawn Johnson, going to have a great interview. Let's go. Hey, Shawn, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
Super excited to have this episode and what we're going to talk about today, because as we're talking before the show started, deals don't ever seem to go like you always plan, and we always want them to, but that's not always how it happens. And you just had a recent experience, and I just asked you to come on to share this story because I think a lot of people can get some gold nuggets out of other people's misery. And so I'm going to let you share, cue this thing up, and first, but before we do that, kind of give who you are, where you're from, and all that stuff, and we'll get into the story of this deal.
Yeah, thanks, Corey. I'm glad to be here. So, Shawn Johnson, my primary role is CEO of a national property management firm, single family property management firm. But I love real estate investing, and my wife and I do a lot of single family and commercial real estate investing. That's our favorite. And obviously we like multifamily investing. And Corey and I met, I went to your boardroom. I found you on your podcast years ago, loved it, and went to the boardroom, ate it up, ready to make some deals happen. You know what I mean? I think I helped you raise a little bit of money on one of your projects before, and I was ready to hit the ground running. Of course, in the midst of all of that, I decided to build a house, build a swimming pool, and then try to do this 40-plex investment plus merge 4 companies together all at the same time. And then we got a puppy. We said, yeah, that's not enough. Let's get a puppy that pees on our floor.
Yeah. Right on, man. Just stack it.
Stack it, man. No limits.
Came to my boardroom, like we talked about a couple months ago. You're like, hey, and you were super jazzed, bro. You're like, dude, I got this deal, man. It's a 40 unit deal, right?
40 unit, yeah.
And you're telling me all about it. You're super stoked about it. Like, man, we're actually getting ready to close. Like, I think this is going to be a good deal, and we've got a plan and stuff like that. What happened, man?
Yeah.
Because between that call and what we fired up the podcast, things happened in between that didn't go so well.
Well, it's funny because like from one of the learning lessons here is that the broker was very clear. The financials, the owner didn't do great financials, and to get a rent roll was difficult. We got rent rolls, of course, and based off the APOD and the rent rolls, the numbers looked great, right? And as we further got down and getting involved with Freddie and doing their due diligence, when they produced the T12, those numbers just didn't match anymore. Like, wow, where was this, 3 months ago? And it's not here. And, your numbers change, and it doesn't look like a savvy investment anymore. So you start trying to figure out where their money's going, where their expenses are, where their rents are. And what they were showing, it was $66,000 in vacancy and concession loss.
Wow.
So 2020.
So let's set this up. So you got this deal. It's an off-market deal, or kind of sounds off-market, right?
It was, yeah.
And there's a broker involved.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, listen, this is a seller that doesn't have, like, it's mom and pop shop. Right? Which, hey, listen, on the 40 unit size, that's usually the case, right? So you're like, okay, I got it, no problem. Give us something, give us a rent roll.
Yeah.
They finally produced something, but the word is produced, by the way. That's a word that can be overanalyzed. People can put anything in a spreadsheet. Seems like, right? They give you they produce a rent roll. And based on that, you're like, hey, I think this looks good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So then we come to the part that people don't understand. This is what happens. You start to spend money because, they produced some stuff that looks like, hey, these numbers work.
Yeah, and you got to act fast, right?
Yeah, because everybody's like, you got to close.
Yep.
Right? A lot of people behind you. This off market. You want to buy it, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the case. That's what these brokers are like. Damn, you go to the Cal auction. Hey, but on a 5 and a 5 and a 5. Hip, right?
Exactly.
So you find you're gonna get a small balance Freddie loan, right?
That's right.
And which is, by the way, under $5 million. If you're doing under a $5 million transaction, it's the Freddie Mac or Fannie's got a version of it too, small balance loan. And so there's an application fee for that, by the way.
It's
right?
big.
Yeah, and is it like 25,000?
It's 12,500.
12.5. Yeah, that's right. Yep. I just and by the way, Shawn, I share that same experience recently.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, so I lost 12.5 too. Because they ended up saying they weren't going to do the deal, and then I still had to. But now I had $200,000 in earnest money, so I had to find another solution that cost me another $50,000 application fee to get the next loan.
Wow.
Yeah, so stuff. I understand your pain here, but this is a 40-unit deal. You're like, hey, let's do it, right? So you got to start the process, which is the financing, right? Now, had you already been to the property at this point?
Yes, I had.
So when you saw the property, what did you see? Give me.
Broker described it as a B- property, maybe C+. Deferred maintenance, pretty rough tenant pool. I would say I would have defined it as a D, maybe D+ property.
Okay, now you're putting on you're putting on your property management goggles already, right? You know this, sure. Right? Because you're like, I've got experience. We run a national property single family, management company, but like, get it, understand, what the problem is, and you're probably assessing whether it's a fixable problem or not, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Is this so far down the line, but does it have good skeletons? Is this a good property? It did. Great skeletons. Roof hadn't been replaced in years. I mean, we were expecting $120,000 in roof. Parking lot, the asphalt was so old it was like dirt.
But these are all fixable problems in your eyes. You're like, hey, this is not something that we've not done. And on the single family side, you're like, we do this kind of stuff all the time. So now it's just like doing it all in one spot, which is great because like we don't have to. We got the subs. We got people that can do this work.
Yep.
So that part's not scaring you.
That part didn't scare me at all. I mean, I've repositioned a ton of properties. Not a big deal. And one of our partners owns a hardware store, so a lot of the cost of light fixtures, sinks, that stuff like that, we were getting at a cheap price.
Yeah.
And you can control the supply line, which is kind of sketchy in COVID times.
Well, amen. Yeah, make sure that you got the whiz bang to put in, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, okay, you come out for that thing. You're like, okay, no, probably a little bit more work than what you first thought. When the broker's like, it's the Taj Mahal. You're like, no, we're in the ghetto.
Exactly.
Right. And did you do a price? Did you negotiate at that point at all?
Yeah, so we were locked in at $2.3 million. Was the PSA number, and
did you already put money hard too, right? At this point,
negative. No, so I was very financing contingent on my money going hard.
Okay.
Yeah, so no money went hard.
But you had already put money in earnest, right? So you had
$100,000 earnest. Yep.
Okay, so you had earnest money in, but you had a true, what I call normal due diligence period.
Yes.
Right. So you're in your due diligence period and you're looking at stuff. You're like, dude, this is not the Taj Mahal. This is this is a fixer upper. Right.
Yeah. And part of the struggle there was that you had a seller that just kind of they wanted to hurry and sell the property, but drag their feet on every aspect. So, for instance, during our due diligence period, I schedule our inspections and pest control and plumbing and all the jazz, and I have them all scheduled. And they're like, "Oh no, we can't have you come this early. We need you to come 2 weeks from now." And well, okay, fine, but you're going to have to push out our due diligence period then. Everything's a give and take, in my opinion. If you want me to do something, then I'm going to ask you to do something back.
And good point, by the way. So normally these contracts are very, they're usually done by attorneys, or you have a, blanket kind of contract that, realtors use. So that's fine. Which one did you use?
Yeah. So it's funny because like the seller's family member was an attorney, and he produced this PSA that was just complete garbage, one-sided garbage. And I'm like, I'm not using that. So I sent the PSA that you lent me through the boardroom, And
right.
Oh, yeah. And so they're like, oh, we're not going to use that one. We didn't like that. And I should have forced the issue. What we ended up settling on was the state realtor association ones.
Okay.
And actually I was able to incorporate a lot of the
language that you wanted, right?
Exactly.
From mine. So you went and looked at the one we provided you and said, okay, well, we need to have this language in here.
Exactly. Yep.
Perfect. Good job, by the way.
Well, thank you.
That's a pro tip, right? So listen, contract, especially when you're doing the smaller stuff, like with direct to, it's like almost you're working direct with the seller. You're not even working with a broker, because the broker's kind of like, well, just go to call the owner, see what he's got, right? And it can be either good or it goes really bad, I found.
Yeah.
Because when you're asking for stuff that on a normal transaction, especially when they're bad bookkeepers, which this guy sounds like he's a bad bookkeeper, right?
Yeah, for sure.
They don't have any of it, so they have to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
And they're giving you a bunch of crap, right? The stuff and so they jerry-rig everything, and then so he doesn't even let you come to the property when you're like during your due diligence period. You're usually like the day you go under contract, you're trying to like schedule that out. You want to get there as soon as possible, as many subs, because a lot of these guys are going to do bids. Like, here's what I saw that's wrong. Here's the cost.
Yep.
By the way,
so I think we had a signed PSA on like a Thursday, and I was like, I'll be there Monday. I started scheduling out all the vendors to make this all happen. And they're like, oh, Monday's not going to work. We need to do it 2 weeks. Like, 2 weeks? What the hell is that about?
So did he give you an extra 2 weeks?
He did he did extend, that period. So that was helpful. Yep.
Well, and good for you, sticking to your guns, right? So like, listen, if you're making me delay the process, then the whole process is delayed.
Yeah, when $100,000, of earnest money is on the line, I mean, you think of ways to protect that money really quick.
Yeah, because I got to know. Like, we came in here seeing it was Taj Mahal. We realized it's not. Now we need to get all the bids, because we budgeted based on a certain idea, and what we're seeing is it seems like it's going to cost a little bit more money. Mm-hmm. So you're doing now. I love it that you on your due diligence you have real subs looking at stuff, which is I highly recommend. Especially like the major systems, right? Plumbing, HVAC, roofs, right? All that stuff, right?
That's right. Yep.
And so what happens in the due diligence period at this point, right? So you do all this work, you get all these guys out there. Then what did you find? Like what's?
Yeah. So the big one was the roof. But on top of that, in the Southwest, we have evap coolers, and evap coolers that eventually, because they use water, and hard water in the Southwest is just very common, and they rust out the pans. And so in our walkthrough of the roof, it was like almost every one of those evap coolers has rusted out and needed to be replaced. They were putting like roofing tar to seal the water to make to make the pan work still. And so that wasn't expected. And of course, replacing one of those is probably $500 to $800 a pop, and there's 40 of them. That adds up.
Right.
You gotta think of this. So we discovered that, and we discovered the staircases. It had metal, and they were original to 1980, and of course they'd rusted out. Now it's just the cement that's
holding it, but like one person steps on it, and they go through and they break their neck. Who's going to get sued?
Exactly.
Think of Florida. And what just happened with that building that just went down, right?
Yeah, serious stuff.
Someone's going to prison. Yeah. I don't know that for certain, but they're going to find
paying a hefty fine, aren't they?
I'm telling you, man. Like I would, if that owner that owns that property is just probably nervous as all get out, especially now, or it's the city's fault, right? I don't even I've not watched that enough, but somebody's at fault, and they're going to do enough research and find out if the city was holding them up and not giving them permits to do work that they wanted to, or it's going to be the other way around, right?
There'll be a lot of finger pointing.
Yeah. And so all these things, so you're talking about doing a due diligence, and that's what the due diligence is for, is to probably know more about the property than the seller. You probably
I think
achieved
it's
that,
your
didn't
typical, It's your typical homeowner, right? They tolerate all the dripping faucets and the leaky roof for years and years and years until they sell it, and the new seller's like, I can't deal with that. Here's the crap I need you to fix. No different than a multifamily. I think they tolerate all this crap, and now I'm not going to tolerate it. I want a product I could then sell in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I don't need all this deferred maintenance. Like, I just wanted a working building, right? Buildings. Yep. So, and I understand that there's certain. So then you get to the point where you got to make a judgment. Now, you're also not you're doing a physical due diligence on the property itself. What about the financials? Because that was already like a point of contention. Like, I got this rent roll. So did you start jumping into the leases and trying to do an audit with that?
Yeah, we did. We did a full audit on the leases. Didn't find really much besides security deposit issues, misaccounting of security deposits. We were talking like $300 security deposit. So it wasn't very big. But, we couldn't get a T12 at that time. And so to really get updated financials was really difficult. We didn't get a T12 until about a week and a half ago.
Oh,
yeah.
So you're going now? Are you still under due diligence?
No, we're right at that time.
Yeah.
No. Well, technically, so what I did, I pulled, my money was going to go hard on the 28th of June.
Right.
And so I produced a termination. They didn't produce their financials in time, and so I terminated the contract with the intent that we can proceed. But I just didn't want my money to go hard and they get $100,000 out of me, and then they figure out a reason to
okay, so this goes back to what we talked now. Okay, because we talked about what happened. So we got to get back to that point, right? Because all deals have a story.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're moving. Everything seems to be working. Did you negotiate on your sales price at all based on all the stuff you saw?
Yeah, so we retraded. And based off of the lack of financials, I used that as a contention of retrade, and so we got it at $2 million. So they took, we were able to get $300,000 off the purchase price.
Great job, right?
Yeah.
And dude, that's real money. That's money you don't have to raise. That's the game, right?
Right.
And this is the power. I don't know if you remember me talking about this, but like. At a boardroom, but loading the gun, like two people go into a deal and one's going to die. Right. Oh. Everybody's got a gun, but you got to you have to get your ammo from going to the property. You get your ammo by getting all those bids, by knowing more about the property than the seller.
Yep.
And then you have the ammo to say, hold them hostage and be like, dude, $300K or I walk.
Yep, that's right. I produced this very detailed email that said, here's all the reasons I'm looking for a retrade. And I actually asked for a retrade for $1.9 million, and I negotiated to $2 million.
Yep, there you go. Always ask for more than you need, because that's how it works. If you ask for 300, you'll get 2, maybe 150. So you gotta ask for a lot more to get in land where you want, and then and put all these reasons in front of it. So I'll give you a hint. This is something that we do. I don't know if I said this or not, but do not exceed bids. So like when I do send subs out, I'm like, give me that do not exceed bid.
Nice.
Wink, 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 right? So in other words, I want that bid that's no matter what's going to happen, this is the price. It doesn't change.
Yep.
So they're inflated bids, and then I go multi-round bids when I'm actually going to do the work.
Yeah.
But at least it helps me produce a bid that I can present to the seller. Mm-hmm. Right.
It's funny, in this process, the broker goes, this deal, I didn't know this. This deal fell through previously, and it locked in at $2 million. So I basically knew the market value. I'm going to use air quotes for market value, but but you get my point. Like, 2 people are now willing to pay for this thing at $2 million instead of 2.3.
Yeah. So the value is $2 million. Come on, right? That's what it is. Now, so. You're almost to, like, at this point, you retrade on the price. This is normally where the transaction's about ready to be put together, because you've already spent money on Freddie small balance loan. They're doing their due diligence process. Now, they have checklist, right? And it is a agency debt, just like FHA loans, which are a little bit more cumbersome, but it's still a agency debt. And there's rules that they have to follow. Meaning they have a checklist and they check it off every time. And part of that checklist was what?
Clear financials, inspections.
Right?
Yeah.
And hence they needed a produced T12.
They wanted a T12. Yep.
Right? Trailing 12 with the financials, the history, the modeling. What did you spend? What did you make? And your current owner could not produce it, would not produce it.
Wouldn't, and just repeatedly asked. And finally they did. And that T12 showed $62,000 in vacancy and concession, which no rent roll. We had 5 rent rolls prior to this and an APOD. Nothing. I mean, we were talking about $20,000 in vacancy and concession versus 60. That's a big difference.
Oh.
Was
the seller lying?
Yes, they were. Very clearly.
I mean, a seller would never lie, would they?
It's so bizarre. I mean, to me, like, if they made up the rent rolls from before, maybe they did. I'm not saying they did or didn't.
Right.
Maybe they were legit. They could have made up the T12 for all I know, but they obviously, with that kind of concession and vacancy loss, that's not made up.
Right. So they cooked you some rent roll is what they did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And they cooked it probably every month while you're trying to do this stuff, right? They're giving you another rent roll. They don't want to give you financials. They're not giving you a T12 because you're like, listen, it's a 40-unit deal. Do you want it or not? And then, but it comes down to you've got to get financing, and the bank's like, we either have this or we're not funding the deal.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, what is it really? And you finally, he finally gives it up. And that's when the big aha starts, right?
Yep.
Aha, this is not making sense.
What are you really hiding here?
Now, you'd already canceled the contract at this point, right?
Yeah, it was in termination state. Yeah, exactly.
So you'd already canceled it because you're like, hey, listen, I don't even know. Like, I'm not going to take the chance. I'm going to cancel my $100,000. If you can produce the T12, we'll go ahead and go back under contract and buy your property. But this is part of the lender's requirements. It's not mine. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, well, okay, all right, print.
Yep.
He actually went to his software and hit print.
Exactly.
Or save or whatever it is, right? And then he gives you something. You're like, wait a second. This doesn't seem to align with everything you've shown me thus far.
Yeah. Even expenses that they'd produced weren't even matching that
And the truth is, they're probably in such breach of your covenants and
ethics.
Yes. Like your warrants and reps. They have done things that are very material to this deal that you could sue them for non-performance.
Sure.
If you wanted to. Now, because at this point, he didn't... Well, even though you backed out of the deal, right? So that's where because you terminated based on that. If you would have stayed in it, and because of that, and you found that out, you could even sue them and come back and say... Now, does it ever win? No. Like, anytime you go that way...
The lawyers win.
They love to win. Yeah, let me trust. Yeah. They'll make the money. So, what did you learn out of this?
I think, one of my biggest takeaways is just ask for these things way at the beginning and push them. And if they don't produce it, so in the due diligence process, get clear financials right out the gate and don't tolerate anything less. Don't wait for Freddie to say you got to have these, and that was a big learning experience for me. The other thing is just the other learning experience is just stick to your guns. I think it's important, and luckily I've done a lot of negotiation, but I think it's just important to make sure that expectations are clear. And they're not trying to walk on you, because I think they were trying to walk on you. And every turn they're trying to walk on me, and I'm like, no,
they're trying to control what you see, what you hear, and make it. And look over here this way. Don't look over here because you might see stuff that you don't want to see.
Exactly.
But you're like, no, that's exactly where I want to go. I want to see everything, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, so in this lesson, and we'll call it a lesson. it was a 12,500 experience plus time. Probably a little bit more than that too.
It was
right?
$28,800. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
After send down.
Yeah.
It's still fresh on my mind.
Right. So there's a dollar value in not doing a deal. Right.
Sure.
Now, and the lesson you really learned is if I would have asked for all this up front and demanded it before I got way involved down the rabbit hole, it wouldn't have cost you anything.
That's right.
Right. I mean, theoretically, you would have had these numbers. You would have had before you went under application. And before you went and spent third parties and appraisals and environmentals and all the things you got to do to get a loan, right?
That's right.
Now, what I always say too is in my contracts, if you would have used my contract, you would have got this, right?
Yep.
So there's another lesson: use a contract by your attorney. You just have to, right? Or you can't even do a deal. Unless we've done this where they've given us a contract, and then my attorney makes it, red lines the hell out of it to bring it back to what we normally do in ours. It costs me more money that way, but I know that without a doubt. And one of the things so Wayne Siegel, I'm going to have actually Wayne on my show soon because I want to talk about what we do because this is my attorney, and we deal with this stuff every day, and like we get our wins. Right, like we got one not too long ago with the same thing, Shawn, which was like we have in our language, due diligence does not start until we've received every bit of the information. Doesn't even start. And I have to physically say, I have acknowledged receipt of everything and it is all good. Right?
That was the key right there. Because I actually used that exact language in mine, but I didn't I physically acknowledge I received, and that's probably the biggest learning lesson right there.
Yeah. So when you do that little piece there, so we just had it, and I just put another deal in Carter. They're like, we've sent it to you, and they're like, is it all there? Is it all there? I'm like, dude, I need a couple days to go through it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like, it doesn't happen magically. I've got to physically check all your stuff and check it off my list. Yep. Now, I don't do that. I have somebody else do it, right? But that's what we were doing. And then finally we come back, and I swear there's always 2 or 3 items, right?
That's right. Missing still.
Yeah, you're like, hey, listen, once you send me this, this, and this, we're all good.
Yep.
And now sometimes they'll another 5 days go by and ask me if I'm calling them like, hey, did you get it? Did you get it? No. Because I got more time. At times, I'll take as many as you'll give me. And then once they give it back, and then I say, great, we got it, we're all good. Then I'll send my official email to title saying, I am now in receipt of all due diligence materials. That's a great lesson, by the way, Shawn. I'm sorry that you had to pay some money to have it, but sometimes, and this is the other part of that lesson, is some of the biggest deals we'll ever do are the ones we never do.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
That's right.
So your experience first time out on a bigger deal didn't go so well. Where are you at mentally with it going forward and trying to find another one?
Driving on. I want to find another one. I see the vision of, owning multifamily, and I hope to not actually find a 40-plex. I don't love the size of a 40-plex. I like the
Shawn,
size
you're going to call me a lot
75.
earlier next time. So now that we're doing a podcast together, you're going to call me and be like, dude, here's what I got. What should I do? And just let me coach you through it just a little bit. More than
I
happy
appreciate
to, by the way.
That's great advice.
It's funny how all these things work. Even when we were starting single family, when you were doing just property management, single family side, how many mistakes have you made in that? Millions, right?
Millions, yeah.
And those are sometimes the best lessons.
That's right.
It's not always things you do right.
Yeah, there's this phenomenal business book called The Road Less Stupid.
Yeah.
I would love to see The Road Less Stupid in multifamily because, I learned a ton of stupid things that I did that cost me $28,000,
Right. And I know some people that are listening and saying, oh, God, like $28,000 would wreck me. I understand that, right?
Yeah,
now,
sure.
But I also want to say, if you're going to get into multifamily, find a partner that $28,000 is not going to wreck them.
That's right.
Right? You don't have to go it alone. And so I always, when people, it's hard to lose these monies in these deals, but there's other people that look at it like that was a learning experience. But you won't make that mistake again. And it's going to make you a way better investor. Right? And listen, I make mistakes, and I have lately that cost me I almost had $100,000 mistake, Shawn.
Woo, that'll hurt real bad.
Right? Where I got a property that I am selling that I can't sell. Oh, there's a lockout. I just did a couple podcasts ago. If you're listening, I think go back whatever episode this is. Go back 2 episodes, and you'll hear the story of how I'm under contract to sell a property. I bought it for $8.9 million, Shawn. I'm selling it for $19 million.
That's amazing.
Right? Actually, it's 20.3 that I was selling it. We're actually under contract for until I found out that I can't sell it because Freddie's like, there's a lockout period.
Oh, no way.
And I had no idea what this lockout period was. Never experienced it. And because I've had the loan for a year and a half, and I got the right offer, and I even called the bank, Arbor, and asked them for a prepayment penalty payoff. And they gave me a $1.3 million price. So I added that to the purchase price. I'm like, guys, I can only do this if you pay me $1.3 million. And they said, okay. And I'm about 30 days from closing. I was supposed to close last week while I was in Hawaii. It was supposed to be the great Hawaii experience.
Right? And you were worried the whole time you were in Hawaii, weren't you? You were thinking about this.
I already knew that it was going to. So what happened was, 30 days before, 30 days ago, I request my official payoff. And about 10 days later, I get an email saying, you can't sell your loan. And this is a week before I'm going to Hawaii. So I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Right? And it was just a big mess. I had to call the seller. And we eventually renegotiated. And they're going to assume, they can assume my note.
Okay.
And so that's what they're going to do. And I get to give them a $1.3 million discount now.
Nice.
So it's all going to work out for them. But now I'm 90 more days. But if I wouldn't have closed, my penalty, my remedy for that was I could be out of pocket $100,000 to pay for all their expenses because I was non-performance for closing, and I would have been responsible for it. You want to talk about sweating, bro?
Oh man! Oh
You're
my
like,
gosh!
Oh, and I'm like, and I was so mad. But these things, that's a lesson. I'll never forget that lesson, dude, by the way. And we shared it to you guys, just like we're sharing Shawn's lesson. Some of these lessons are real. They're very real, very personal to us, right, bro?
Yeah. Oh, it's very personal. It's like, you get a speeding ticket and you tell the officer, oh, I didn't know it was 45 miles an hour here. It doesn't matter. You didn't know about a lockout, whatever fee what the heck that was, or lockout.
You signed the note.
Yep.
Yeah, the 120 pages that I really read, right?
Yep.
And it's funny, because then all of a sudden you read that section, you're like, hold on, you get to that one spot, and it's like 5 sentences, and you're like, wait a second, it doesn't even say start or end. It's very vague. It's like Jedi mind trick. You will not know the time, but we'll know it, and we'll let you know when you know.
Oh my God.
And so I was just like, oh my God. And my heart was just like, and I had already planned on financing new deals and all this stuff.
Sure.
And it was like, oh man. So those lessons.
I'm glad that worked out. That was a great one that worked out.
Yeah. So Shawn, these lessons that you just experienced, right? Part of learning. I still have these learning curves. It sucks. But the outcome is always the same, right? The more doors you can buy in one location seems to yield good results when you do it right.
That's right. Yep.
And
I would say too, one of the things that worked out is I have a great relationship with still the broker, the seller's broker. And that's important because she threw the off-market deal to us to begin with. And I wanted to throw her, future deals to us.
Yeah.
So
you come out with a great relationship. They saw everything that you did. They don't disagree that you didn't do anything wrong. You're like, dude, you did everything right.
Yep.
Because they didn't, even the seller probably didn't know that, or the broker didn't know that the seller was cooking books.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So good for you. So now you've got a good broker relationship. You've even going through the lending process, you've worked with a lender that understands, like, okay, like they know you now. You did bring up one thing that when we talked a couple months ago that helped you is by investing in a deal. In one of our deals, right?
Oh, yeah. That's huge. Yeah, that's huge help, because really when we were going through that, October of 2019 ish, whatever that was, it just opened my eyes to what has to happen and what linear fashion it has to happen with. I could not have done or got as far as I did if I didn't have that experience. I would have really, really screwed up.
And the brokers said that because you invested in one of my deals, I think as GP or LP?
GP, but it's small. It's tiny. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So you had you're on the GP with me. That's right. Because you brought in other guys too. And that was just enough. And this is a real thing. Get in someone's GP, bring value. Either you find a deal, you find money, bring value to somebody, because a couple percentage points or whatever it is can move the needle on you were getting this new deal on your own, and they checked the box, experience.
Yep. Yes, that's right. Arbor said you have the experience to be the sponsor. Otherwise I would have been, hey, Corey, will you be the sponsor of this deal? You know what I mean? And and which would have been cool too. But at the end of the day, I was able to do it myself, and I have enough net worth to do it. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into being a sponsor.
Yeah. But one of the requirements is that you have experience. The banks want to have somebody on board, and that one little piece was what got you there, man. So. Touche in making, in connecting, doing everything that you've done, right? You went from listening to my podcast, come to the event, taking action, and you're well on your way. It doesn't always work out the first time, but like everything says, try again. And that's your mindset. That's who you are.
The way I look at it is I paid money to go to your boardroom, which was an amazing learning experience. And then I paid money, which was $28,900 to learn more and get my advanced degree because I've been through it now a little bit,
Yeah. Well, and there's nothing and you saw the whole process rolled out for you on this deal, which now makes it very real. Like, well, I can do this. Mm-hmm. You did it. You did everything. Right? You just didn't have a deal at the end. And you made a couple little strategic mistakes, easily fixable, so it doesn't cost you that kind of money down the road, which gives you way more confidence to go out and do it again.
That's right.
And there will be a deal that meets the criteria where you get all the numbers and they do make sense. You're like, dude, got a deal.
Yep. Exactly.
And now you have the confidence to go through it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep. Then it's time to make money.
Amen to that. Love it. All right. So if you could talk to any of my new people, what advice do you give them, Shawn?
I would say biggest advice is to get connected with a sponsor or an operator that you can be a GP in, raise money or find the deal, help operate whatever they have, and be of value to them. That's number one. Number two is just be strategic in your due diligence process. In my opinion, like I was too lackadaisical of not getting the financials I needed to at the beginning and waiting for Freddie to make that decision for me. I knew what Freddie was going to say. Why didn't I just say it? You know what I mean? And that cost me $28,000. So
there.
Yeah.
That's the 1-2 punch. Ba-bam, ba-bam, right?
Short and simple.
And I know you gave us that one, but was there any other books that you've read that really has an impact on you lately that you'd like to share?
Yeah, Business Made Simple by Donald Miller. Fantastic book. I like simple concepts, and he goes through I'm an aviation guy. I love aviation, and he goes through how business relates to an airplane being efficient in flying. You can't have the overhead too big or it won't fly, or the wings can't be too small. The engines have to be big enough to have thrust. Fantastic book. And just like any business or any investment, it's a business and you should treat it like a business.
Yeah, rock and roll. Cool. And how do people find you if they want to reach out and find Shawn Johnson? and figure out what about your company and what it does, where would they find that at?
Yeah, they can go to homevault.com. That's the property management firm. You can email me, Shawn at homevault.com. Shawn is SHAWN. And happy to connect. I love talking about investments, and it's probably my favorite thing to do, even beyond, running a property management firm. As you can tell, I'm only 39 years old and I have gray hair.
It all catches up to us always, dude, no matter what. So, Shawn, I want to thank you for coming on my show. What a pleasure. Guys, hopefully you learned some valuable nuggets on this show. Like, these are these pain experiences, however they're not the most pleasant to have, it is a sign of growth. It is a sign of moving forward. We will all fall down at some time. You will scrape your knees. You will get, hurt. But it's really about, it's like a Rocky movie. It's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That is what it takes. It takes determination, but it takes, more importantly, I think, what's in between the two ears. It takes the decision in your brain to never quit and keep going forward. Guys, if you believe it, you can achieve it, and your paradise is possible.